How would you like to live where you love in the state of Alabama? Whether it is you're upsizing, downsizing, retiring at the beach, or relocating for your job, then you are going to want to contact Celeste Hagler, owner of First Class Real Estate South Home Group, with brokers in Tuscaloosa, Orange Beach, and Huntsville. They can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is 205-861-5698, and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals anywhere across the state of Alabama. Jeff Bagwell of Honey Hole Fisheries right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, is a professional biologist who specializes in lake management. If you are interested in helping build the pond or lake of your dreams, or if you need help deciding if property you own is a good location to build a pond, you can contact Jeff Bagwell at 205-799-0192. Once again, that is Jeff Bagwell and Honey Hole Fisheries at 205-799-0192. Contact him today and let him help you build the lake or pond of your dreams, or also stock your pond or lake with fish that you most desperately need. And we want to welcome you into the Thursday edition of the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with everybody out there. Heath, are you ready? Because the college football playoff semifinals are here.
Yeah, Steven, I've gone back and forth with these games all week. I feel good about Indiana winning their game, but this Ole Miss Miami game, I changed my mind. Yesterday I was changing it every half hour. Right now I'm changing it about every 10 minutes. One thing I kept thinking over and over and over, there's one certain quarterback for Miami. Sometimes he disappears in big games.
Yep.
He did it at Georgia. He's doing it now. I don't know, man. I mean, that Louisville game, you can't really hang your hat on that. So I don't know, man. Will he disappear tonight? Is he out for revenge for what Ole Miss did to him last year in Oxford? I don't know, but it's going to be fun. I know that much. I know I'm going to watch.
Heath, I've got some disappointing and sad news to report this morning. Unfortunately, 3 games left in college football. Semifinal tonight, semifinal tomorrow night, and the national championship. And that's it. We're done after that. That's sad.
That is sad. College football is so much fun. It brings so much joy. Well, usually it brings joy. Sometimes it just brings misery and you just want it to be over with. But college football brings so much hope. And, it's a time that everybody can get. This is the great thing about football. It doesn't matter your side of politics, religion, diets, what your bank accounts say. We all come together as one and cheer and root for a certain team.
Yep.
And we all sit together. We all tailgate together. We all root for each other. We all wear the same colors. And we all come together for one special occasion, which is Saturday.
Yep.
And football is so much fun. And then, we can disagree on absolutely everything in life, but come Saturday, we're all on the same team. And that's the beauty of college football. And, Stephen, you always hate the season to end. I'm arguing that we should extend the season and make it the playoffs longer and start it earlier and be done by New Year's. But, whoa, excuse me. But, yeah, I'm ready for this. Hey, Stephen, I know we're going to get to National Day of today and everything, but guess whose birthday is today?
David Bowie.
Elvis.
Yes, I know that too.
That's me by the Lisa Marie. He called his plane after his daughter.
Right.
But yeah, that was me at Graceland a couple of years ago. My daughter had a field trip, and I snapped that picture real quick as we were walking by. Taking care of business. That's the tail wing of Elvis's jet there at Graceland.
That's awesome.
Last time Steven, I think the last time I saw you face to face, we were at Graceland Soundstage.
That's right. That's
Across,
right.
across the street from Graceland, yeah.
Yeah.
And our good friend of the show, JBL. Yeah, that JBL from WWE. Yeah, he invited us and to come to a fundraiser, and Stephen and I went, and we had a great night that night.
Yeah. All right. Heath, can you tell me what happened last night in college basketball in the SEC?
I saw State pulled one out. I didn't watch a single second of hoops last night. Well, I take that back. I watched some things about that Auburn game. I was looking some things up and watching that from a couple of nights ago. But what are you referring to the most?
Can you tell me what team, shockingly enough, is atop the SEC standings?
Oh, I couldn't tell you, brother.
This team, literally 2 or 3 years ago, had a former NBA player as their head coach.
Vanderbilt.
They were the laughingstock of the SEC.
Vanderbilt.
Last night, they knocked off Alabama 96-90 to move to 15-0 on the season, 2-0 in the conference. The Vandy boys of the hardwood Vanderbilt.
Nice. With their weird court and their eyes sitting at the end of the bench, sitting at the end of the court. Nerds.
15-0.
Good for Vandy.
Yeah. That's that. I mean, a couple of years ago when they had that the former NBA coach, man, it was hard to watch.
Yeah, we started hearing stories. I don't think this will shock anybody. We started hearing stories about Jerry Stackhouse, their former coach. Like he was showing up at like 11 noon, sometimes 1:30, and he'd been doing that like the last 2 years, and he was just collecting a paycheck. Wasn't recruiting hard.
Right.
Wasn't really watching film hard. Like really wasn't doing anything hard.
Mm-hmm.
And they said he came in there strong and everything, but then they just said, he was just kind of going through the motions, and it showed on the court. And Stephen, look what's happened at Vanderbilt. They were using NIL all wrong, and they were saying women athletes are going to get the same exact as men athletes, and everybody's going to get the exact same amount. Well, that's nice and all.
Yeah.
But when a school is offering an offensive lineman, $300,000 to $1 million to come to their school, and Vanderbilt's like, oh no, everybody here is going to get $51,000. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't pay somebody from the women's golf team the same as you pay your offensive lineman that a lot of people want in the portal. I mean, it's just not realistic.
Right.
You can do it, but you're going to end up in last place and be a loser. And so, I mean, that's just the world we live in. We don't live in a world where everybody in your town or your street or your cove or your neighborhood, everyone's going to make the same amount of money. And that's not real life. I don't care what you think. You're like, oh, well, it's college and it should be even because they're both college athletes and they're both college students and, they're student athletes. Shut up. Just shut up. You got to pay. So Vanderbilt, with all this time of like, we're going to pay everybody the same, men's and women's. Doesn't matter the sport. Doesn't matter how much you play. If you're a walk-on, we're going to pay everybody the same, and blah, 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 blah. And they were showing up in last place in football, basketball. Everything was bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just embarrassing. It really, really was. And look at them now. And hey, my good buddy Brent Wright, one of my old college roommates, he listens to the show time to time. But Brent said it years ago in the 90s. Not only does Vanderbilt have the money to cheat, they have the money to cheat and hide it and get away with it. That's what kind of money Vanderbilt has, and they won't use it. And look at them now, Stephen.
Mr. Diego Pavia.
Yeah, have a Heisman finalist. They've won a couple of national titles at baseball. They're in first place in the SEC currently, which I did not know. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yep.
But Vanderbilt's really, what'd you say, 13-0, 15-0?
15-0, 2-0 in the SEC.
God bless you, Vanderbilt. Hey, look, for all the folks new to the show here on the 365 Nation, We're going to praise every SEC team, and
Yeah.
we're probably going to make fun of every SEC team.
Yes.
But we are pro SEC. And when I say we make fun of you, it's kind of like how your brother or your cousin makes fun of you. We'll cheer you on 1 second, then we're going to make fun of you the next second, then we'll cheer you on again. So don't think that we equally hate all the SEC schools or we equally plug certain SEC schools. Nope. We're going to praise and make fun of every single one of you. And if you don't like it, I don't care.
All right, Heath, well said. Now let's move to the fun talk of January the 8th, and let's begin with the National Day of today. And we've got one thing that has to do with food, and it is National English Toffee Day.
Ooh. Are you a fan of English toffee?
Yes, yes.
Because I am not. So you can have that one all you want to, brother.
So, yes, English Toffee Day. And I know that you are going to love this one. It is National Bubble Bath Day.
What? Bubble bath day. Okay.
Yes, I had to throw that one in there.
I make a lot of bubble baths. Look, I had two kids in my 40s, me and my wife. We got 4 children together. But I make baths for my wife. I make baths for my little ones. I make a lot of bubble baths, but you know what, Stephen? I don't get in them.
Right.
I can't even tell you the last time I've been in a bathtub.
Heath, let me also say this. Moving to the birthdays today, like you mentioned, it is Elvis's birthday, and we actually have a comment about that. K-Bug chimes in, good morning and happy birthday to Elvis. It is also the birthday of one David Bowie, and you know that they are so happy birthday to David Bowie there. I almost
You
said
lost your train of thought there. That's okay.
yes, I almost said that they were going to be screaming Rebel Yell with that song, but that's Billy Idol. So I had to
You're
stop.
close. You're close because I was actually pulling up my phone to pull it up to play it for you.
And so
David
that
Bowie's got Rebel.
okay.
So you were thinking you were in the right spot.
I was
Yeah,
just like I was like, better not say that.
yeah. I pulled it up on YouTube now, so I'm sure we'll get a some kind of commercial. But yeah, Rebel
Yeah.
by David Bowie. It's a
All
fun
right.
song.
So, Heath, when we move to the national history of today, we've got quite a few, and you are a history buff, correct?
Most of the time.
Can you tell me what happened on this day in 1815?
Someone spit on a sidewalk. Oh, there it is. There's your Rebel for you. Rebel did not come out in 1815. That's my final answer. What you got?
Today marked the Battle of New Orleans.
Get out.
Now, although the Treaty of Ghent ending the War of 1812 had been signed 2 weeks earlier, news had not arrived in New Orleans in time to prevent this battle. This was the most lopsided victory for the U.S. of the war. Future President Andrew Jackson led a mismatch of about 4,500 soldiers, locals, and even a pirate crew against 8,000 British regulars. The battle lasted half an hour, with British troops losing 700 people, 1,400 wounded, and 500 prisoners taken. The U.S. or America lost only 7 people and 6 wounded.
I should know that. Johnny Horton, I believe, sang a song about the Battle of New Orleans. I don't know if you're a big fan of Johnny Horton
Oh,
from
yeah.
back in the day. But yeah, wow. You know, a lot of people argue, and I agree with the argument, that the only reason we talk about the Battle of New Orleans
Mhm.
The only reason we talk about the Battle of New Orleans is because it happened after the war. Like if this
Yep.
happened while the war was still going on, like no one would remember it. But
Yep.
the only reason it sticks with us is because it happened
2
after the
weeks
war was
later.
over.
2
Yeah.
weeks later. It's like, what?
You know, that is kind of funny to think about because if it was 2 minutes later, 2 hours later, 2 days later back then, okay, but 2 weeks,
Yeah.
you would think they could get news down there within 2 weeks.
Yeah. All right, Heath. Speaking of President Jackson, and this was the first time and the last time this has ever happened. Can you tell me what was announced January the 8th of 1835? And I know a lot of Americans wish this would be something that would be happening right now.
Mm,
It is the first time ever, and it is the last time ever.
no taxes? I have no idea.
President Andrew Jackson, who we just talked about, announces that the national debt was zero.
That's the last time?
1835.
Wow. You know, it used to be a thing back in the day where we would ask rich businessmen in America to pay off the debt, and it was like an honor to them. Like, yeah, I'll pay off the debt. I'll pay off the debt. But you got to remember, you know, there wasn't that many millionaires back then, but there was several. And you know, oh, our national debt is $10 million.
Yeah.
You know what? I have $33 million. I will pay off the national debt. And like that used to be like a big thing, and then it went to like a couple of millionaires would pay off the national debt. Now these people just give money to politicians so they can make more money. So it is what it is.
All right, Heath, can you tell me what happened on this day in 1918 in the state of Mississippi? And this was a big thing that helped people in other states follow suit with them.
Love's truck stop opened up. I have no idea.
Mississippi becomes the first state to ratify the 18th Amendment, the prohibition of alcohol.
Really? Man, they must have been feeling it for football season. Like, you know what made football season better this past year? Actually, I don't think we were playing football back then.
1918, yeah, we were.
What year?
1918.
Oh yeah, we were then. I thought you were saying 1819.
No,
Oh, yeah,
1918.
1918. We're definitely playing football. So you know what made the season a little bit better? Beer,
Yeah.
moonshine.
So, Mississippi, thank you for becoming the first state to ratify the 18th Amendment, the prohibition of alcohol.
You know, Stephen, it's funny because if you look back at what some of the historians say, they banned it so the guys that made it could just make millions and millions and millions, and they
Yeah.
did. And so yeah, I do remember when they did it nationally. Anheuser-Busch sent the Clydesdales to the White House with several barrels of Busch beer, Budweiser.
Right. All right. Heath, I don't know why I put this in, but these are two interesting things in the world of sports. In 1945, the University of Kentucky Wildcats men's basketball sets an NCAA record by holding Arkansas State to how many total points for a game?
8. I have no idea.
Kentucky 75, Arkansas State 6.
That's close.
Can
They
you
waved off that basket. You know how those officials are with Kentucky.
Can you believe that, man? 6 points for the entire 40 minutes.
Wow. I'm trying to think of some great basketball players at Arkansas State. I can't think. At Central Arkansas, you had
Yeah.
Scottie Pippen. But at Arkansas State, I cannot think of anything that comes to mind real quick. But yikes, man, that's no fun. The Red Wolves, they
Yeah.
were the Indians, and then the NCAA made that crazy rule back in the '90s that you can't be a Native American unless you have a blessing from a tribe.
Yeah.
And so they went from the Indians, the Arkansas State Indians, to the Arkansas State Red Wolves. But hey, look at all the SEC coaches that came out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Gus Malzahn, you had Hugh Freeze, you had who else did you have?
We got Butch Jones up there now.
Yeah, but there was like a third coach that came out of there, and I can't remember who it was. That's what Google's for. Feel free to Google it. You can let us know here on the show. We'll put your name on the screen.
Heath, speaking of Kentucky, in 1955, on January the 8th, Georgia Tech ends Kentucky's 130-game home basketball win streak. Can you only imagine today's basketball of 130 straight home wins?
That is quite impressive. What year was that snapped?
1955 by Georgia Tech over Kentucky.
Wow. That was back when Georgia Tech was part of the conference.
Yep.
Wow. That is crazy to think about. Hey, Steven, real quick, I'll chase this rabbit with Georgia Tech. If there was ever conference expansion, would you want the Yellow Jackets to come back?
Yes.
Like, I don't know what they would bring to the table. I mean, better than average baseball program. Football's always up and down. Basketball used to be great when Bobby Crimmins was there back in the early days, but Bobby Crimmins didn't go out on top.
Right.
But
the Atlanta market.
We already got that. Georgia's got that wrapped up.
Right. But I would also say another rival for Alabama, because remember that whole fiasco with Bear Bryant?
Oh, yeah, I had my cough button on. Yeah. Yeah, and share with everybody who some of our younger listeners that may not know. Share that with them real quick.
There was some kind of betting scandal between Bear Bryant and I think it was Bobby Dodd. And I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but it was pretty bad. And Alabama even put the Ramblin' Wreck in their fight song. So yeah, it's pretty nasty when they put you in their fight song.
Yeah, send the Yellow Jackets to a watery grave.
Yep.
Go teach the Bulldogs to behave. Send the Yellow Jackets to a watery grave.
Yep. So
there's a lot of hate in there from Alabama in their fight song.
Yep. So I mean, if they put you in your fight song, you know it's a nasty rivalry, man.
That's true. That's true. You know, and the sad thing is, it is sad. Nobody has. And if you want to know why Georgia Tech left, feel free to go down that rabbit hole. But they thought they could have more success outside the SEC.
Yeah.
And they didn't have more success.
That was bad for them.
Dude, I remember as a kid, like middle school, Georgia Tech was like a big time program. Boss Ross was their coach.
Yeah.
And Ross, what was it, the 1990 season or the 91 season? Shared the national title. Georgia Tech, national title. I think it was the 90 season. I think they shared it with like maybe West Virginia. Yeah, because Bama won it in 91 with Jay Barker, Gene Stallings and Jay Barker.
So Heath?
No, that was the 92 season. That was the 92 season. I'm sorry. So maybe it was the 91 season. There you go. There you go. I'll stop rambling.
All right. Can you tell me what famous song hit the #1 Billboard charts on this day in 1966 and stayed there for 3 straight weeks? And it is my favorite Beatles song.
I was going to ask you, was it a Beatles song? Goodbye? I have no idea.
We Can Work It Out.
And why is that your favorite song? Any reason?
I like it. I just do. I think it has a great beat, and I like the words.
Fair enough. You know, without thinking about it, I would have to say Yellow Submarine's mine, but after I think about it, it would probably be like rank 6 after I thought about it after a while. But I'll just say Yellow Submarine right now for my favorite Beatles song.
All right, we've got a couple more, and then we're going to stop rambling about this. Can you tell me what happened on this day in 1973?
It's 2 years before I was born.
You should know it.
Oh, um,
Has to do with your picture.
the death of Elvis.
He divorces Priscilla on his birthday in 1973.
Did not know that.
The king of rock and roll files for divorce on his birthday after 5 years of marriage to Priscilla Presley.
I have one of my best friends from high school. His dad worked with the Memphis Police Department, retired from the Memphis Police Department, and worked his way up to the top of the Memphis Police Department way back when. But one of his first gigs when he was a young guy on the police department is this teeny bopper singer Elvis Presley. They had to go, be his bodyguard and duty and security for him, and they didn't do it because he was singing these little teeny bop songs and like Jailhouse Rock and Love Me Tender, and he was basically like the Britney Spears of his day, and
Yeah.
people just kind of rolled his eyes before he became the rock star that he is now. But he went off to war, came back, and I said Elvis had lots of girlfriends. I don't think that surprises anybody. There's been documentaries about all of his girlfriends. And anyway, they heard about this young lady that came back shortly after Elvis had arrived in Memphis. He had not seen her yet. And anyway, they were at a motel down the street. Elvis was meeting up with a girlfriend, and they were in an unmarked, car. And all of a sudden, this Cadillac comes in the parking lot in two wheels. They're on Highway 51, which is known as Elvis Presley Boulevard now. And he said, out steps the most beautiful thing he has ever seen in his life. She's wearing this full length mink coat. She's got high heels on, and she comes and knocks on the window with this huge ring. And they roll down the window, and she said, "Have you boys seen Elvis?" And they just kind of looked at each other and smirked, like, "No, ma'am. His house is right up there." She goes, "I know who you are. I see you come to work. I know he's here." And they said, "No, ma'am, we haven't seen him." She reaches into that mink pocket, pulls out this huge wad of cash all rolled up. And she goes, "If you happen to see him, let me know. I have something for you." And she gets in the Cadillac, speeds off, and they kind of giggle and laugh and everything. His buddy that he worked with, his partner, went back and told her. His buddy was fired from the Memphis Police Department the next day, and he didn't know what happened to him. But yeah, he said it was Priscilla Presley that stepped out of the car, and he said there's no picture or video that did any good to her. She was so much more beautiful in person. And I was
Right.
like, wow, that's saying a lot because she looked like a beautiful lady and a lot of pictures and videos. He goes, it doesn't do her any justice. She was tremendously more beautiful than any picture or video you ever saw of her. I was like, wow. But yeah, Priscilla Presley and Elvis got divorced. A lot of people blame Priscilla for having an affair with the karate instructor. I don't know if that's true or not. But Elvis blamed the karate instructor and Priscilla for the divorce, not his girlfriends on the side.
Gotcha. All right. Heath, we've got a couple more. Can you tell me what was announced on this day in 1984 by the NCAA?
Does it have anything to do with SMU?
No.
84. Did they expand the tournament from 48 to 64?
The NCAA announces that the basketball tournament will now have 64 teams.
Yeah, 48 to 64. Steven, I know we got 68 teams. We have the play-in games, and I don't hate on it. But when we still make out our brackets, we're still making out our bracket for 64. Are you a fan of the play-in games
Yes.
of those last four teams?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. And Heath, finally, we are going to stop rambling about this, but I had to bring this up. Can you tell me What happened on January the 8th of 2012?
2012. Let's see here.
NFL.
The NFL. Did they announce they were going to change the extra point and move it back? No. It's not the tuck rule. That probably happened like 10 years earlier. Is it a rule change?
No. It is a memorable game.
2012.
You may just tell you.
Yeah, hit me with it.
John 3:16 football game.
John Elway, the Broncos and the Steelers. No?
John 3:16. Tim Tebow wore 3:16 underneath his eyes in this football game. The Bible verse, John 3:16. Now, he went on to lead the Denver Broncos against the Pittsburgh Steelers in that incredible game-winning play there in overtime. Now listen to this. This is the reason that it's called the John 3:16 football game. Tim Tebow's passing yards, 316. Tim Tebow's yards per completion, 31.6. Yards per rush, 3.16. The only interception of the game for the Steelers were on 3rd down and 16. The Steelers' time of possession was 31 minutes and 6 seconds. The Nielsen ratings for the game peaked at 31.6, and the Broncos lost their previous 3 games by an average of 16 points. That is the reason that it is coined John 3:16 football game.
Well, I did say the Broncos and Steelers, and you told me no. I was right. But good. I remember watching that game, Steven, and it was a phenomenal game. And that's back when Tebow Mania was just all over the place. Yeah. And I remember they even did a sports center. They called it Tebow Center.
Yes.
Did a whole 60-second show about news about Tim Tebow. And I was like, this is insane right now. I have never seen everything's just so over the top. Whoa. I don't know what
got it.
Over the top with one athlete in Tim Tebow. And it was so crazy because a super majority of America loved and adored Tim Tebow.
Yes.
There was a small fraction that couldn't stand him.
Yeah.
But a super majority loved that guy. And Steven, let's call it what it is with Tim Tebow. I've had this discussion with some of my buddies before. It's because of me. It's because of us, the people that love Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Is the reason he got forced out of the NFL. Because it didn't matter what team he went to as a backup quarterback. It was people like us in the stands chanting for Tebow. It was people on the internet making videos and news radio and talk shows and whatever else, these call-in shows asking for Tebow, hosts of these shows wanting Tebow. It becomes a distraction to the team.
Yeah.
It becomes a big distraction. And so these NFL owners and coaches are like, we don't need that distraction here. And it's because of us that Tebow didn't get signed anywhere.
Yeah.
Because we would all been chanting Tebow. But, man, everywhere he went, he did things. Well, I shouldn't say everywhere he went. The Jets really wouldn't give him a chance and all that kind of stuff. Dude, do you remember that game?
I do.
I remember watching it. My best friend since 4th grade, a guy named John Farmer, he knew that I grew up a Broncos fan, loved John Elway, and he loved Tim Tebow. And I remember we, cooked out at his house every Sunday to watch the Broncos. And I'll never forget that pass in overtime. I want to say it was the first play in overtime.
It was.
Yeah. And I remember when he let the ball go, my buddy could see it. He's like, he's gone before he even caught it.
Yeah.
Yeah, John shot out of his chair and started yelling, go, go, go. And of course, everyone erupted. We both had small children. We made the babies cry. We didn't care. We were all cheering. But man, I miss the Tebow days.
I do too. Heath, let's continue our discussion of college football because it is game time in Glendale, Arizona this evening. It is Ole Miss versus the U of Miami. One of those teams punches their ticket tonight to the national championship game. On deck, behind the scenes, is the owner of new Ole Miss 365, David Johnson, will join us right after this open to discuss everything Ole Miss. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. That's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. Are you ready? Well, you better be, because tonight it is game time for the Fiesta Bowl of Ole Miss and Miami. Which team will prevail in the Fiesta Bowl? Because neither team has had an opportunity to go to the national championship in a very long time. And Ole Miss and Miami have faced off 3 times in history. Ole Miss leads the series 2-1, with Miami winning the last one in 1951. David Johnson is on deck right after this open from Ole Miss, and then Adam Lichtenstein from the South Florida Sentinel newspaper joins us for a deep dive into Ole Miss and Miami right here on this edition of the Stingray Show. Let's get it on.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Look out, you're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Heath, Stingray, Here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And with that, we want to welcome you into the nuts and bolts and the real show of the college football playoff semifinal, the Fiesta Bowl. And Heath, you actually have a little bit of a surprise to begin the show.
Oh, no surprise, man. Just rock it out. Some David Bowie, man. Rebel, Rebel. This is a great song.
Yep. And Heath,
Are you a David Bowie fan?
I'm not. I do like Billy Idol, though. Rebel, Yale, let's go, man. Hotty toddy, gosh almighty.
I hear you, man. No, If even if you don't like Ole Miss or love Ole Miss, it's still a fun song. Here it is. Oh, I love this song, man. Anyway, we'll rock out later.
Yeah.
Steven, it is here. We had a fun pre-show. Now we're here to the real show. Now we're getting down the nuts and bolts of everything. This Ole Miss game, look, this Ole Miss team has surpassed every expectation of absolutely every single Ole Miss fan this season. Last year, they thought they were going to have this success.
Yeah.
They missed the playoff. They couldn't beat a bad Florida team, and they got embarrassed by a Kentucky team. Lane Kiffin teams always drop 2 games where you know a game or 2, usually 2 each season, we don't expect. That didn't happen this year. That's the first time in Lane Kiffin's career that never happened. And here they are, and now there's no Lane Kiffin, and here's Pete Golding. And I think a lot of people, including Lane Kiffin, didn't think that they could beat Georgia. And here they are. And here's one fun fact, and no one's talking about this, Stephen. There's only 2 teams left playing that has beaten every team they've played. Indiana, and you've got to say it about the Ole Miss Rebels. They lost to Georgia, but guess who they beat?
Georgia.
They beat Georgia. They've beaten every team they've played.
Heath, did you happen to hear briefly what Jimbo Fisher said on ACC Network last night? He actually went off on Lane Kiffin and the whole saga that's going on about the coaches going back and forth, and it was really, really fun to hear Jimbo Fisher call out his buddy Lane Kiffin.
I didn't hear it. I'd love to hear it. But before you tell me about it, Stephen, we talked about it on the show, how over hypocritical, because I asked Tim Brando about it. I'm going to ask David about it.
Yeah.
We asked Tom Luganville about it, that Lane Kiffin wanted to coach this team in the playoffs and cried when he couldn't do it. And then he turns around and says, oh, these assistant coaches that are coming with me to LSU, you're under contract. You have to come here with me now. You can't coach anymore. Like, how hypocritical is that? Like, you cried that you couldn't do it, but these guys can do it, and now you're going to cry and say they can't do it. What in the world is that about?
Yeah.
I know what it's about. It's about Lane Kiffin.
So, Heath, let's go ahead and bring on David Johnson, who is currently of the Ole Miss Insider and Ole Miss 365, who it was just launched last Saturday, and now Ole Miss is going to Arizona. David, how ecstatic are you for the semifinal game this evening featuring Ole Miss and Miami?
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I got up at 5:30 this morning, and I rolled over, looked at the alarm clock, and I was like, "Dadgum, 13 hours away." I mean, I'm excited. I'm super excited. We're going to have some awesome coverage, beginning with the Stingray Morning Show this morning, all day long on Ole Miss 365. And Heath, to address your question about Lane, look, I think all of football has figured that out. But while he was here, he was our snake, and we all loved him. Now he's bitten us like he bit everybody else, right square in the butt. And, that's all I want to say about him. Tonight belongs to the Ole Miss Rebels. It belongs to Pete Golding, just like the playoffs have. Honestly, I think Lane Kiffin is out of mind here. And I never thought when he left, his memory would be so quickly evaporated. And I think the playoffs helped that. And no doubt about it, he got us here. There's no doubt about that. So there's a token of appreciation for what he did. But how he did it at the end was terrible. And I go back to message board posts when Ole Miss hired him. Tennessee fans, believe it or not, love to weigh in. And they simply said, you will be sorry in the end. You will be sorry you ever hired him. And they were right. Not that we're not ecstatic about being one win away from playing for a national title. But, I just got to say it, to hell with Lane. I mean, and you made a good point. He gets down to you, and, he's got Charlie Weiss on loan. We know that. But a couple of the coaches stayed down there. Joe Cox, George McDonald, they're down there, no longer coaching for Ole Miss. And, thank God we've got a guy, and I've known him for 30 years, a guy like Pete Golding, who he doesn't give a crap. He cares about one thing, and that is tonight's game versus Miami. After that, he'll care about one thing, likely a national championship game, my pick versus Indiana. I've said it before. I think Indiana is probably the best tooled football team in America. They are solid at every single position, guys. And but we'll save that for next week or later on this week. Tonight's about the Miami Hurricanes. And, all I've been hearing all week has been this great Miami defense. And to me, it's like an echo chamber, because that's all I heard about Georgia. Going into the Georgia game was this defense. Ole Miss, thanks to a safety, scored 39 points on that great Georgia defense. I've been seeing all these predictions tonight. Ole Miss, 17 points. I don't believe that's going to happen. I picked Ole Miss to win this thing 28-17. I do believe it's going to be an entertaining game. I think the Rebels will add a score late and provide a little breathing room. But, I think Ole Miss is going to win this. And, the crowd, Ole Miss will outnumber Miami fans 2-3-1 tonight.
Right.
There are tickets available for the Fiesta Bowl. And you can probably get them at about $6.25 tonight for $50. Go ahead, Stephen. I'm sorry.
David, I do have to ask you this, because you are sending a team out there to cover it. How dumb, in your opinion, is it to take Ole Miss and Miami and fly them to the desert to play this game? That is asinine to me. And I don't understand why you have to do that. A bunch of East Coast and South teams going out to Arizona to play that game.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at the Tulane game Ole Miss hosted. It had a $74.5 million economic impact on Oxford.
Yeah.
Georgia, Athens, they didn't get that impact. Neither did Indiana or these other top seeds. It makes no sense. It's about the bowls having pull. That's what it's about. Yeah. And it's about the economic impact that it makes in Glendale tonight and so on and so on. That's going to change. If you get a bye in the college football playoffs, why are you not hosting a game? That makes no sense whatsoever. Right. I think the playoff field will expand quickly to 16 teams. 16 goes to 1, 15 goes to 2, so on and so on. Everybody plays a game in every single round. I think that's the fairest thing to do. And in fact, if I were them, I would probably expand to 24 teams. That way, number 25 has no right whatsoever.
Right. And they're always,
and that way, if you went to 24, you could give the top 8 a first round bye. And 24, 9, 23 go to 10, on and so on. And I think it would be healthier that way. I mean, God knows the TV audience is huge for the college football playoffs. and they can definitely make their money through that. Just getting to a point where you go, okay, we are not going to have a playoff game in New Orleans or Glendale or Miami or whatever, but your semifinal and your national championship, they can be at neutral site games. So,
Right.
every year you can have the bowl games rotating who's going to host the national semifinals and who gets the national championship. But I do not like this system. I do not think it's fair.
No.
I'm with you, David. Stephen and I have had this conversation on the show multiple times. Look at basketball. I mean, when we had 48 teams, people cried and complained. And today's the anniversary that we swapped it from 48 to 64. But even at 64 teams, we had people cry and complain that they didn't get in the tournament. And then we added 68 and had the play-in games, and we still got people crying. And no matter what you do, people are always going to cry that so-and-so should have been in the playoffs and blah, blah, blah. And I get that. I get that. But I am with you. We should make this 24 teams. We should make this 24 teams. Why? Because 1AA does that. They have 24 teams that make the playoffs. Top 8 teams get a bye. That system works, and they love it. And, in the NFL, sometimes you get a bye. That's why we have wild card weekend. And so, with that being said, I'm big on expanding this thing and doing this, and I'm okay with us making all of these games at bowl sites, or making these home games. But good friend of the show, Mr. College Football himself, Tony Barnhart, said, "What do we want? Less football? What are you going to do? Sit around and watch old reruns of Matlock instead of college football? No, we want college football.
Yeah.
We don't want old reruns of Matlock. We want more college football." And so with that, I think we're definitely heading down that. Yeah.
This book got sent to me today, and man, I cannot wait to read this. Forward Progress by Bill Connolly. And you talked about, having Tony on your show, but man, Bill Connolly is an expert, and this is the future of college football, according to him. I can't wait to read this thing. It should be awesome. I'm not going to read it until after the Rebels run in the playoffs are over, but I'm going to read it, and I would recommend everybody else get you a copy of this if you're a football fan.
Okay. So, David, I want to ask you, we talked about all week long, and you talked about it briefly, about Rueben Bain and the Miami defense going up against Trinidad Chambliss and that Ole Miss offense. Are there any concerns for you about the offensive line holding up against Miami's interior defensive line?
Yeah, there's a little bit of concern there, but I think they can do it. I really and truly do. I believe John Garrison has done an incredible job of turning the Ole Miss offensive line to one of the best in the SEC this year. Maybe they weren't game 1, but they are here tonight for game 15. And I really don't. Trinidad Chambliss is a superstar. And I believe, matter of fact, I'm going to predict he gets to come back next year. And, you couple that with Kewan Lacey, an arsenal of tight ends, an arsenal of wide receivers, and Trinidad releases the ball much quicker than Carson Beck does. I think that adds up to the Ole Miss offense being able to score 4 or 5 touchdowns tonight. Yes, Miami's deep up front, and they're very talented. But I do believe Ole Miss for that up front. I mean, come on, guys. Look, if this were playing Miami, Georgia would be favored. It's Ole Miss. It's a name even the Vegas odds makers aren't used to being in this stretch of college football.
Right.
And I think they take away from that a little bit in terms of how good Ole Miss actually is. As you guys mentioned earlier, Ole Miss has beaten every team it's played this year. They lost once to Georgia, but they came back and beat them. And by the way, I got to say this: no Georgia Tech in the SEC, guys. We already have Vanderbilt, and we do not need a Georgia Tech. I do believe the conference is about to expand. I think the Big Ten and the SEC are going to gobble up more teams, and personally, eventually gets to 24 teams. But that's besides the point. I think the Big Ten does too. Yeah, I think it's going to happen. You're going to have half of the Power Four teams in America in one conference, in two conferences. I think that's where we're going.
Hey, David, I'm going to throw this out at you. I think the very first group of teams that join the conference is going to be Duke and North Carolina. I think they'll go after that rivalry because it's going to be good. It'll be good for football, but it'll be great for basketball. It'll also be great for women's sports and baseball as well. But I definitely think they can go after Duke and North Carolina.
How many teams are – number one, football and men's basketball is all that matters. What conferences you're going to bring in. TV audience does as well. So the SEC right now has how many teams? 16 teams?
16.
If you go to 24, I think the first ones you'll add will be Virginia, because there's no school in Virginia, and they would get that TV market. I think that's number one. Number two, I like North Carolina. I think you could see them coming in under one condition: NC State and Duke do not come in. So I could see those two teams coming in. Yeah, I really could. I don't think North Carolina wants to come along with anybody else in their state inside the SEC. So I could see Virginia and North Carolina very well being joining the SEC. Florida State, I could see, or Miami, one or the other, if they can convince Florida. And then Arkansas State, Middle Tennessee. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, I think the SEC and the Big Ten will eventually expand. But as far as tonight's game goes, I think Ole Miss has the power on its offensive line to mitigate the Miami pass rush, the Miami run defense. And then Kewan Lacey, I mean, dude, he's a superstar. I don't care what anybody says. He hits the hole and twists and turns and better than anybody. And then if you want to flip that around, and all I've heard about is Miami's vaunted run game tonight and how Ole Miss can't stop it. You tell that to Will Eccles. You tell that to Xavier Harris. You tell that to Mommy Ellen. You tell that to Cam Franklin. And, guys, I'm telling you, I do not see this game playing in Miami's favor whatsoever. X Factors, Trinidad Chambliss, Kewan Lacey, Deuce Alexander with the track speed out there on the edge. I expect this to be a historic night, even more so than it is now for the Rebels. I truly do.
Wow. The only thing I'm concerned about is Rueben Bain for Miami. He was unstoppable the last game. He shuts down one side of the field. Doesn't matter if you're running or passing. He shuts that down. Matter of fact, I would say he shuts down more than one half, because when it came to passing, he was just creating all kind of havoc in the backfield. Here's the catch, though. Trinidad with that quick release, and Trinidad was being terrorized by Georgia and still made plays.
Yeah.
And I believe that's going to be the difference tonight, is that I think Trinidad's going to be terrorized, but he'll still make the plays even when Bain's in his face. And you know, I got a feeling Trinidad's going to be able to tell you what he had to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I believe Bain's going to be in his face all night. But I think Trinidad can make the plays under that kind of pressure, and with that quick release can make that thing happen. I've been going back and forth all week, David, all week, of who I think is going to win this game. But that's the reason, because originally I was like, man, they can't stop Bain. No one's been able to stop him. But Trinidad is the reason I'm going to go with Ole Miss of winning tonight's contest, just because with that quick release, and he gets the ball out so incredibly fast and accurate, and he's used to it. He's used to that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And he's won a national title before. This is not new to Trinidad Chambliss. It's not new to him at all. He has been in the situation. He's performed at this situation. He's excelled at this situation.
Yeah, and if you have followed Trinidad, the one thing you know about him, number one, he's highly intelligent. His football IQ is out of this world. Number two is he is a pleasant human being. And that translates into him being a winner all the way around. Look, title last year at Ferris State, right. He knows what it's like to play. And Steve, I got to stop for a second and tell you, we are going to mail you a new Ole Miss shirt.
Okay.
I figure you only have one. You only have that one, right? We're gonna fix you up with some gear. He's you as well, man. Okay. We're gonna get you guys fixed up.
Thank you.
But yeah, you're welcome. It's gonna say national champions on it or something. But, we're gonna get you fixed up. But look, man, I do think it's gonna be a good. And I picked 28-17. I could see Ole Miss leading this thing 21-17 late, but I'm predicting a mop-up touch to give them a little distance, and the started in Glendale. Man, I noticed this morning, I got up and took my little girl to school. There's hardly no traffic in Oxford. And Oxford is like New York City traffic, but I don't know how many. I saw all the tweets yesterday of the rebels on the airplanes and all that stuff, but I'd say Oxford's population's probably been cut in half today.
Wow.
But, it's a festive mood all over town. It should be. It should be. I mean, Arkansas
back yet.
Beat the hell out of us in basketball last night, and nobody cares right now. Right. I mean, honestly. And we can talk about.
Guys, I will leave you. You're fine.
You go, Stephen. Go, Stephen. You're leaving me.
All right. Okay. No, I'm not leaving you, but guys, I will also post this because we do have a little bit of a comment on Twitter from Tornado Nathan, and this is what he says. No oceanfront property in Arizona for Miami, and hurricanes need water to survive, and the desert doesn't have enough water to get a hurricane going.
Man, I love that. I love that, Tornado Nathan. Hey, Tornado, come on over to Ole Miss 365. Yes. We are getting our message board kicked off, and we need you, buddy.
Okay, and also there's one more. We've got Hottie Toddy from Harker Heights, Texas. Shout out to my hometown of Florence, Mississippi.
Come on, Harker. We need more, bud.
Thank you, Sims.
Ole Miss 365.com.
Okay.
Cal Grantham from Facebook's letting us know. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, David, there's a lot of hype around Ole Miss 365, and there's a lot of hype around this game. And, for the Ole Miss fan base, it's fun to see their excitement. It's fun to see all this. I've seen videos of planes taking off from Memphis, and it's nothing but Ole Miss people on the planes, and they're doing hotty-totty as the plane takes off and doing hotty-totty as the plane lands. This is a lot of excitement going on.
Yeah.
And it's fun to anytime you see a team do this, it's always fun to kind of see that happen. What's one thing, or let me rephrase it like this. What's one person you wish you could share this moment with? Because there's, we all start cheering for a school for a reason. It's usually because of a parent or an uncle or a cousin or a great friend or whatever it might be. who's the one person you wish you could share this moment with tonight, whether they're still with us on this earth and they could be there with you, or if it's someone that's already passed on? Who's one person you'd love to have this moment with?
My daddy, Earl Johnson. He passed away in 2001. But one of the last things we did together before he got sick and was in the hospital for a month, we watched the I guess it would have been the 2000 Egg Bowl, where Deuce threw the touchdown, Merrow Miller, in the rain in Starkville. And my dad wasn't necessarily a big football fan. He came to all my games and all my brother's games and everything. But that night, he knew he was about to have to go in to have open heart surgery. And, we sat there at his house and we watched the entire game. And it's really one of the only times I can remember that happening. And he was actually engaged in the game. And, my dad, I would love for my dad to be here. He missed so much. He would have been so proud of my son, Eli, who grew up to live out his lifelong dream of being an Ole Miss Rebel. So yeah, definitely my daddy. I would be watching this game with my dad tonight, who would be 70. So yeah, thanks for asking that. I really appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely.
So, David, look, man, I really do want to thank you immensely for the opportunity to be here on Ole Miss 365. This has been and is an absolute blast to be on with you guys as we are now a part of the family. What else do you have to offer for Ole Miss fans on Ole Miss 365 for the rest of the day to preview Ole Miss in the desert that kicks off locally tonight at 6:30?
Yeah, we're going to have a ton of copy all day long, as well as a live stream tonight during the game. Every writer on staff will be weighing in throughout the game. Should be a lot of fun. I would ask you guys to please engage in that. And then, one thing, if I can, I want to thank Visiting Angels of Northeast Mississippi. They are sponsoring our post-game coverage, and we really appreciate them doing that. And, I know people that get a little older and you worry about your parents and them living independently.
Oh, yeah.
Visiting Angels, oh my goodness, the absolute best source of home help that you can get for your parents. So, be thinking about that. My mom and dad are both deceased, but, I'd be right there in that pack of people calling Jane Sams over at Visiting Angels of Northeast Mississippi if they were still here. So, and I understand how it is to take care of elderly parents. That can be a chore. But with Visiting Angels, you can make sure that they're being taken care of.
Right. So, David, look, man, go. Yes, sir. I go.
Steven, let me squeeze in one thing, and I want to ask all the folks listening, please chime in with this. David, what's going to be your final score prediction? I want to know, everyone that's watching, please go on and send that in. But David, what is it? You've already said it, but I want everyone else to hear it if they join late. What's going to be the final score of tonight's game with Miami?
My pick is Miami 17, Ole Miss 28. And I think the Rebels score a late touchdown to wrap this up in beautiful red, navy, and powder blue. And we'll have a great time. Hey, one thing I want to ask you guys real quick.
Okay.
That's cool.
I want to ask you, how is the Mississippi State fan base handling this when the gap used to be here? Man, it's out here now. How are they handling this? Because let's be honest. honest. I mean, I think Ole Miss get any in-state kid they wanted right now, and State's always struggled to bring in the prime out-of-state prospects. How do they view this game?
I'll say this. There are some Mississippi State fans that feel sorry for Ole Miss the way Lane Kiffin treated them. And anybody on social media that mentions that, the other Mississippi State fans are like, hey, whatever happens to Ole Miss, even with them winning, does not affect or help Mississippi State. So there's a lot of people from the Mississippi State side that are pissed off about what Ole Miss is doing.
You know, I've heard several podcasts, and one was anything that's good for State is bad for Ole Miss. Anything good for Ole Miss is bad for State. And said, no, I will not be cheering on. I will not be doing this. Some are, you know, I'm not even watching. I'm not even paying attention. I've moved on, blah, blah, blah. I've heard others saying, I'm so glad I don't work with Ole Miss people. I'm glad I don't live in the state anymore. That was a personal friend of mine I grew up and played high school baseball with. You know, so you've got a wide range of things. You know, personally, my best friend from high school went to Ole Miss. He lives there in Oxford. He works for the university. You know, I think about him. You know, I've got several family members and friends. Everyone in this state has a relative that went to State or went to Ole Miss. I don't care what kind of family you are. I don't care what neighborhood you live in, whether it's a startup subdivision or a gated community. Everybody in this state has Ole Miss family and Mississippi State family, and they all live in these same neighborhoods. And so with that, some people are like, you know what, I'm good for them. They're having a great season. You know, take it from there. I heard one person the other day, I was like, I hope they win now because I don't think this, you know, Pete Golden thing's going to turn out good long term. So you get the wide range of things all over the place.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
is there hate in there? Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting because back when State was playing for the national championship in baseball in 2022, I literally did not run into one single Ole Miss fan who was pulling against them. They thought it would be great for the state of Mississippi. And I think what state people fail to realize, historically speaking, if one program is accomplishing things up here and the other one's down, that's one down here to rise.
To step it up.
And and I believe they can do that. But that's a little disappointing to hear because I'm telling you, in 22, when State was in Omaha, I did not encounter one single Ole Miss fan who said, I hope they lose. And I guess that's all that needs to be said about that.
Right.
Well, I do remember those guys from Super Talk. Oh, gosh, I see his face. Richard Cross. I do remember Richard Cross saying your state won it in baseball. He talked about it for 3 weeks, if not longer. This team's too small to win a national title. There's not a big guy in the entire lineup. They're too small. They're too small. They're too small. And then he's like, hey, I hope they win when it got down to the last game, which made me laugh. You know,
it was great. What happened, though? Listen, what happened? State won it in 22.
Yeah.
Who won it in 3?
Yes.
It pulls you up.
You're
going to have to do something because, you know, 5 and 8 is no longer acceptable. I mean, it's just not. If your rival can do it, you can do it.
David?
Yeah, and I'm glad, you know, we talked about this on the show yesterday, David. I don't know if you caught it yesterday. I personally love that it's not blue bloods in this thing right now. Yeah. Look at the stadium size of all these schools. They're all like in the 60,000 or below. And you know, and I love that there's not a blue blood outside of Miami left in the playoff.
Yeah.
I absolutely love every single bit of this. You know, I don't like how college football is right now with the transfer portal. I don't like NIL, but you know what? It has given us a absolutely phenomenal college football season. Do you know there was someone that lost in the top 10 every single week this year except 1 week, and it was in November? We had someone in the top 10 lose every single week this college football season. We've got this playoff where we've got none of the blue bloods left here. We've got, these schools that have always been left out of the party, that they're the only ones at the party now. I absolutely love where this is heading.
Well, let me point you out to a common denominator between Indiana, Oregon, Miami, and Ole Miss. They're all well funded when it comes to NIL.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line. Oregon has Nike and all the stuff this logo does for them. Indiana has stepped up to the plate. They went out and bought a national championship caliber team. Miami got Carson Beck from Georgia and many other guys. We know what Ole Miss does with the portal. They've already got 5 commitments already this year. And they're doing a great job with roster retention. So that's the common denominator. If you want to win in this era of college football, you got to pay for it. You have to pay for it.
Yeah, you do.
And Ole Miss gets a 3.5, 4-hour long commercial for its football program tonight on national TV with half the country's eyes glued to it. I mean, that's what perpetuates success. And Mississippi State, in my opinion, they've got to do the same thing. There can be no, if you win, we'll buy you a team coach, which I think is a lot of what Jeff Lebby has faced in Starkville. You got to buy a team for the coach, and that's just the bottom line.
It's never worked like that, actually.
David,
LSU didn't hire Lane Kiffin for his personality.
David, there's one more question from Facebook that would like to be asked. It comes from Kyle Grantham. He wants to know, ask David about will Perkins have some critical plays tonight like the Georgia game?
Hell yes, he will. Absolutely. Sonny P is look, he's a stud. He's one of the best in America. And I think he's going to show up big tonight. Speed off the edge for Ole Miss will be Sonny P. And, I could see him being defensive MVP of this game. But my pick for defensive MVP is going to be Will Eccles once again. Eccles is going to show up right there in the middle, slow the Miami run, and offensively, look, I think it's Trinidad Chambliss. He is the X factor that I think is truly the difference in this ball game.
David, one thing, and I'm chasing a rabbit here, but this is another thing that I love about college football right now. We've seen it a trillion times over the decades. Really good, great, excellent college quarterbacks, but their game's not going to play out to the next level in the NFL. And now with NIL, you're getting these guys, and if you're not a bona fide first rounder, like, you have to come back to college because you're going to make tons more money, a ton more money. It's not even close of the money that you're going to make. And I love that the NFL has to suffer due to college football and its boosters and the enthusiasm that we have right now. But, Trinidad Chambliss is the perfect example. Asked Tom Luganbill when he's on the show on Monday.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, how does this game translate to the NFL? Excuse me, everybody. Whoa. Sorry. But, Tom came out and just said he's really undersized. He's really small. And I was like, so he's going to be a Drew Brees, Doug Flutie type. If he is successful, he'll be Drew Brees. If he's not, and it's just a backup, he's going to be Doug Flutie. And he's like, yeah, basically. But I love that he doesn't have to wait for the NFL's approval. He doesn't have to wait to get his chance like Doug Flutie. He can come back to Oxford or anywhere he wants to and make plenty of money and be happy, and more than he would in the NFL next year. I absolutely love that about what's going on now in college football.
Well, rewind 10 years and put Ole Miss in this situation 10 years ago, and nobody on that team legally is getting a dime off their name, image, and
Right.
money. And how unfair is that? How totally unfair was that? So,
Right.
I was always for players getting paid. Look, my son played at Ole Miss for 4 years, and I can't count on both hands and both feet how many times I fed a room full of offensive linemen when he was on the team, because it was the end of the month. They didn't have any money. So I saw all that firsthand. And I mean, my son played for Ole Miss, and I live a mile and a half from the stadium. He could always come by the house and eat. But, some of these kids' families live 2 hours away.
Right.
And a lot of them were from very tough economic backgrounds. So, I'm glad to see these kids getting money. I do think it's on a runaway train. There needs to be a cap placed somewhere. But how do you do that when they can sign an NIL deal with me if they want to? I mean, I've already talked to Chris Jones, who committed to Ole Miss earlier this week out of the portal. Wonderful kid, by the way, about signing an NIL deal with Ole Miss 365.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the part of it, is that you starved them for so long off textbooks and a scholarship. You can't eat either one, and now the market's going crazy, and I mean, that's just where we are. But I do think somebody somewhere put some limitations on some things, and and that's probably going to have to be the U.S. government. But can you imagine Tommy Tuberville voting for NIL restrictions in the Senate? I mean, I don't think so.
Right.
I mean,
David, I want to throw this out
are.
at you, because I asked Tim Brando this question, and Tim disagreed a little bit with me, but I still buy this. We had some liberal judges. I don't even want to use liberal. I don't even want them to think this is political. We had some judges that changed things with how we do things in the NCAA, and it's led to this NIL. And, the judges took the power away from the NCAA, and it's been the wild, wild west ever since. And there's no rules. There's no this. There's no cap. And everything's just wild, wild west right now. Everyone's just out there doing whatever they want. And I had someone mention to me, and I believed them when they said it, that the NCAA is not going to stand up, and they kind of want this thing burned to the ground. And now you're seeing this kid for the Chicago Bulls thinking about coming back to college and playing.
Yes.
Like all this craziness that's going on right now. And they said the NCAA is not going to do anything because they want this thing to be burned to the ground, so Congress will come back and put the NCAA back in charge, and legally you have to do what the NCAA says again and give them all the power back. But they can't do that until this thing gets burned all the way to the ground, and it's just made a complete mockery and a joke. And I was like, that actually makes sense. They lost their power due to some judges, and now they're going to have to rely on Washington. No one wants to rely on Washington for anything. I mean, Ronald Reagan said it best. The worst thing you can ever hear is, hi, we're the federal government. We're here to help. No one wants to hear that. But, that's where we are now. And I'm buying that. I'm subscribing to that thought process that the NCAA is leaning back like, you know what? Let it burn. Let it burn to the ground, because we'll be in control as soon as the ashes are put out. Am I wrong for thinking that?
Yeah, I disagree. The NCAA will never be in control again. They will never be in control again. If it burns to the ground, the conferences will be in control. It'll be the SEC and the Big Ten. And everybody else that wants to play along with will do exactly what Sankey and the Big Ten commissioner tells them to do. And the
Yes.
judge who did this is a Trump appointee. It was John Roberts with the Supreme Court who wrote the opinion that you can't tell somebody how much money they can earn in their profession.
Right.
This is their profession. They're professional ball players now. So everybody's some kind of NIL money, at least in the SEC level. And, and John Roberts basically wrote an opinion from the United States Supreme Court saying, who is anybody to tell somebody how much money they can earn? I mean,
Yeah.
If they stepped in and said, you guys can only earn this much money on a morning show. I mean, that would not be right. And the skill is playing football, basketball, or baseball, or softball. And, according to the big court, you can't do anything. And I kind of
So, David,
agree with that, sort of.
I agree too. David, look, man, this has been a blast. Go and enjoy all of the festivities at Ole Miss 365 today, and especially out in Glendale, Arizona tonight. And we will catch up with you next week when Hotty Toddy is punching their ticket to the national championship game, my friend.
Hey, I love you guys.
He's
I love
speechless.
coming on your show more than anybody else's show. Heath, I think you were born in 71.
1975, Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, okay. Well, Stephen, you were a lot younger, I suppose.
1988.
I was born in 7, man, here, but
You were born in 88? Oh,
man,
my dear
no,
Lord.
good chemistry with y'all.
Thank you, man. And
88?
yes,
Yeah,
I was
that's what I
in
said.
Yep, I was born in '88, man.
You're going to go through puberty here any day now.
Dang.
So,
Dang. Yeah, they're going to be dropping soon, Stephen. I'm kidding. Look, I love you guys, man. Hey, anytime you want me on the show, I'm here, okay? Anytime.
All right.
You
Sounds
got it,
good,
David.
man. Hotty toddy, man. Thank you. All right. So, Heath, we are going to have to go long today. That was awesome from David Johnson. But now, right after this commercial, we are going to turn our attention to South Florida and touch base with a reporter from the Sun Sentinel from the Miami Hurricanes side of this matchup. So when we return, we will be talking all about the U right here on the Stingray Show, talking about the matchup in the Fiesta Bowl from the Hurricanes' perspective right after this. And Heath, this has been an absolute blast, and more to come right after this.
Hey, Steven, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. We're honest. We're going to shoot you straight every time. We recorded this interview yesterday. I was going back and forth on my prediction yesterday. I was going Miami. I was going to Ole Miss. I couldn't make up my mind. Hey, you're going to see this interview, and I'm going to lean Miami, then I'm going to go to Ole Miss, I'm going to go to Miami. I'm going to go back and forth. My final prediction, I think Ole Miss wins this game tonight. I think they win it by double digits. So there you go. That's my final prediction.
All right, so here we go, man. We all enjoy the changing of the seasons. Fall is a special time to be thankful for our families and many blessings. It is also a great time, though, to review your insurance coverages. Alpha Insurance and hometown agent Jeff Nee can help you personalize your insurance needs. The more you protect, the more you save. With helpful customer service teams right here to serve you in Alabama and over in Mississippi, you can count on Alpha to provide the insurance plan that provides the protection that you need. For all your auto, home, life, and business insurance needs, call Alpha agent Jeff Nee or drop by his office at 202 McFarland Boulevard East, Suite 101 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And remember, with Jeff Nee, the more you protect, the more you save. All right, so Heath, it is time to continue our discussion like we've talked about all week of the Fiesta Bowl. And believe it or not, it is again with Ole Miss and Miami, two teams that are looking to break the stigma of the blue blood programs of the norm here in the playoffs. Neither one of these teams have had a national championship in a long time. Miami is looking for their first one since 2001. And Ole Miss is looking for their first one since back in the 60s. One of these teams will be moving on to the national championship game, and the other one will be going home with an incredible season. Heath, briefly, your thoughts on Ole Miss and Miami.
Yeah, Miami once a great program there in the 80s and 90s. Schellenberger, Johnson, Erickson, and Coker later in that whole thing. After Davis was head coach, Coker took over. Ole Miss, there's been a knock on Ole Miss's national titles that they made them up. If you look at the history books or the UPI, the coaches poll, the media poll, anything, the voters, they never won a national championship. That's why it's not recognized by some others. They just had a publication that announced them as national champions, and come to find out the person that worked the publication was an Ole Miss grad.
Yes.
So Ole Miss had some great teams back in the day, but they haven't really been good since segregation. That's not true right now. They are one of the better teams. You can argue they're the best SEC team because they're the last one standing.
Yep.
But it's going to be fun. Here's a fun fact about Ole Miss, and Ole Miss people already know this. They've beaten every team they've played this year. They had one loss, but guess what? They revenged it.
Yes.
They revenged it. So it's going to be fun. I love seeing the Oregons, the Indianas, the Miamis. I love seeing this, that none of the big schools and none of the blue bloods are in this. Miami's the closest thing to a blue blood that we got left in this.
Yep.
But, Stephen, this is going to be a fun game. I think both games are going to be outstanding. I think they're just going to be excellently played. But one tiny mistake on one single play can cost you to move forward. And that's why we're going to watch. This is going to be fun.
Heath, we had this guest on the week of Texas A&M and Miami, and he actually schooled me on something because I went into it doing it like this.
Yeah, you're playing paper football.
He said, no, it is like this for the U. Here is Adam Lichtenstein. He is coming to us from out in Arizona, and he covers the Miami Hurricanes for the Sun Sentinel down in Florida. Adam, how are things with you as we sit here on game day for the Fiesta Bowl with the U taking on Hottie Toddy?
Yeah, doing well. Thanks for having me on again. It's great out here in Arizona. They put us up in a great hotel for the media, and just excited to get this game underway. It's been building for a week now. I know everyone's super excited, so I think it's going to be a really, really good game.
How far is Tempe from Phoenix?
Tempe, everything, almost every city in Arizona. Right. I lived out here for a summer after college. Every city in Arizona is basically in Phoenix. It's all in the same valley. Like Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix proper, Glendale, Scottsdale, you name it. There's basically only three cities in Arizona: Phoenix and its valley, Tucson, and Flagstaff. So Tempe, I guess probably depends on the traffic. It's, I don't know, maybe half an hour, give or take, 45 minutes from Glendale. But like I said, it's all one big metro area in this valley. And I'm on one side of it right now in the media hotel. stadium's on the other side. So, we'll get over there when it's game time.
Adam, I do want to talk with you because when we had you on the last time, everybody was kind of not giving Miami a shot going up against Texas A&M, and then of course going up against Ohio State. That was their path. They had a shaky season with losses to SMU and Louisville. Everyone had kind of written Miami off, especially with the way that they got into the playoffs. Talk about this run that Miami has made from the beginning of the playoffs to the semifinal round.
Yeah, I think people who maybe weren't taking Miami super seriously were maybe disregarding the way their season played out.
Yes.
Because you watch them throughout the year, at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, they were fantastic. And if you watch them during those games, like when they beat Notre Dame, when they beat Florida, when they beat USF, and then at the end when they beat Pittsburgh, beat Virginia Tech, you watch those games and you're like, okay, this team is one of the best teams in the country. Like they got as high as number 2 before that Louisville game. Like people were giving them credit at the time. Then they had a very bad game against Louisville and a bad game against SMU, and they lost those games. And that's just they were not playing well. Like there's nothing. I mean, I think the SMU game was a little bit fluky, but they got beat. But it was clear, I think, if you watch them throughout the season, that when they're playing their best football, they are one of the best teams in the country. And that was clear in September. It was clear in November. And I think, really the Notre Dame game is what got them in. But I think people who paid attention to them throughout the year knew that this team was capable of playing at this level. The question is, would they? It was a tough environment at Kyle Field, and A&M's a good team. They went in there and they played, probably their best defensive game of the year. Held them, an A&M offense that was averaging like 35 points a game, held them to 3 points at home, which is an incredible performance. And then just dominated Ohio State in the trenches, which, heck, that was even a surprise to me. I did not see that. I picked Miami to lose that game. But they dominated those and played their best game, and they were able to win that game, 24-14. So now we're here. And I think especially after that Ohio State game, they're really starting to get the respect that they probably deserved. The fact that everyone's now seeing them on these huge stages, seeing what those, offensive and defensive lines can do, seeing how that running game can work when it's clicking. People are starting to realize this team is as good as anybody. And they proved it. If you beat Ohio State, you can beat anybody.
Yes. Adam, I do have to ask you, you cover the Miami Hurricanes. How tired are you of being asked this next question? Is the U back? That has to be so old by now for Miami.
I know Mario Cristobal is tired of it. He got asked that at his press conference yesterday, and he's kind of over comparing this like current Hurricanes team to like the 80s and the 90s stuff. He is sick of that. I don't mind the question really, because I think it's interesting. And I think there's a different ways to look at it. Like if you ask people who have been watching this team since the 80s, who watched all those national title teams, watched the 2001 team that had, like 800 NFL players on it, like they'll say Miami, like the U is not back until they win the next national title. Like that's when they'll be back. And that's totally valid. I totally get it. Like I'm a Yankees fan, and the Yankees haven't won a World Series in, 15, 16 years. So I get it. What I do think, though, and I think this is interesting, is I do think Miami is back to national relevance.
Yes.
Which, if you want to consider that back, then great. I think this team, clearly they're playing phenomenally now. They're one of the last 4 teams standing. They're very relevant. And I don't think they're going anywhere. If you look at the way Mario Cristobal's built this team, it's not like last year they had Cam Ward, and Cam Ward led the number 1 offense in the country. I wouldn't say it was a flash in the pan or anything, but like they had like the superstar, and it's like, okay, that's why they're good. No, it's not quite exactly what happened, but okay, I can see like that happens. Like teams get great players, they have great seasons, and then they kind of fade back away. And I don't think this Hurricane team is going to do that because they're built through the trenches. I was looking this up for a story a couple weeks ago, but Mario Cristobal has signed. He's known as a great recruiter. He signed 6 or 7 composite 5-star players in his tenure at Miami, and they're all in the trenches. They're all offensive and defensive linemen.
Right.
He is constantly building the best offensive line and defensive line he can get. And that's how you that
win.
travels, that carries over. Like, they're going to lose a bunch of great players after the season. They're going to lose Francis Mauigoa, their right tackle, who he's going to be a first-round pick. They're going to lose Rueben Bain, their star defensive end. He's going to be a first-round pick. They're going to lose Akeem Mesidor, who might be a first-round pick after the season he's had, their defensive end. They're going to lose all these guys and others, too, who are really important players. But they've got the guys on the roster to replace them. Francis Mauigoa is probably going to be replaced by another 5-star, number one player in the country, Jackson Cantwell. They're going to replace Bain and Mesidor with these guys who you're seeing a little bit more and more get some playing time, like Marquise Lightfoot and Armando Blunt, who are very talented, borderline 4 or 5-star guys in their own right. Like, this team is built to last. And if you want to say, is the U back in that way, back to being relevant, back to being a national contender, I think they are.
Adam, I'll touch on that before I get to my question. I grew up watching Miami. That was the cool, fun team to watch when I was a kid in grade school, middle school, and into high school. They were fun to watch, and all the old men used to bark, but they all used to bark at you if you walked on their lawn during Halloween night too. So, the Miami teams were so much fun. And of course, the NCAA made all these rules that you can't dance after the play and you can't celebrate doing this. And I was like, so you're taking all the fun out of the game. So when people say, is Miami back? Look, the swag that the 80s Miami Hurricane teams have, no one's ever getting that. Mm-hmm. That was just a different vibe, a different time, different everything. So I'm not worried about when people say, is Miami back? Is Miami back? Just everyone pump the brakes. I will say that Tom Luganbill, guest that's on our show quite often, I asked him a while back, when Nick Saban retires, who would they call? And I threw out the name Mario Cristobal. And he's like, that's actually the correct answer. They should hire Mario. They didn't go that route. This is really paying off for Miami. Alabama's sitting at home. But the one player, and you've already mentioned his name, Rueben Bain for this Miami team, I am just blown away by this guy. I think he is the best player on the field. It doesn't matter who he's playing, when he's playing. This guy amazes me. No one can stop him. This guy is a beast. Talk about Rueben Bain. What's he like off the field, and what have you noticed that makes him so special on the field? Is it his quickness? Is it his strength? Is it his knowledge? Is it his IQ? What is it with this guy? Because he's everywhere.
Well, so I'll start off. One of the things that stood out to me after the Ohio State game is I saw one of the football film Twitter accounts was kind of breaking down one play from the Ohio State game, and it was Rueben Bain's. It was in slow motion. It was Rueben Bain reacting to a snap, and it was instantaneous. Like, the quarterback or the center snaps the ball, and before he can even lift the ball off the ground, Bain's going. Like, his get off is incredible, and everyone likes to focus for edge rushers, for defensive ends, on the pass rushing. How many sacks are you getting? How many pressures are you getting? And that's crucially important. And Rueben Bain is excellent at that. One of the plays I think that I'll think of when I think of Rueben Bain is one from the Ohio State game last week, where they run kind of this stretch run to Bain's side, and when he recognizes, okay, it's a run, it's coming my way, he just hits another gear and just beats the tackle on him, beats him, gets around him, makes the tackle for loss. Because he is not just a pass rusher. He is an all-around great defensive lineman. He's excellent at stopping the run. He's excellent at rushing the passer. He does everything well. And then off the field, it's funny because he is not the most vocal guy. He is kind of soft-spoken. He's kind of quiet. He's not the rah-rah kind of guy. Miami has other guys who do that. But I think he's the kind of guy where it's when he speaks, people listen. Miami always releases these cinematic reviews of each game that they put on their YouTube channel. They're very cool. I would check them out. And you get to see some behind the scenes stuff, guys mic'd up, things like that. And Bain did speak to the team at halftime of the Ohio State game. And one of the things that stood out to me was he said to me they don't want it like we want it, which, okay, that's typical, fine. And he said they haven't cried like we cried. And this is a guy who Rueben Bain was one of Cristobal's first big time recruits that he landed. He signed him after Miami was coming off a 5-7 season in Cristobal's first year. Florida State, which was on the upswing at the time, wanted Bain badly, and Cristobal kept him home. And you could just see like this run has been so rewarding for all the players, but especially some of those guys who were, in Miami in 2022, 2023, guys who endured really mediocre seasons when Miami was a laughingstock. I mean, we're talking about a team that was like in 2022 was under 500 and lost to Middle Tennessee State at home. And it wasn't close. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't close. They lost. This is a team that, where Mario Cristobal doesn't take a knee against Georgia Tech and they lose that game because of that. And they were just a laughingstock. Those are guys who were here for that. And to get to where they are now, I think like it's really like Bain being one of those guys, like I can only imagine how rewarding all this is for him. So all I have to say, I mean, Rueben Bain, fantastic player, extremely well respected, I think, in that room, like really kind of the perfect player you'd want for your team.
Adam, let's go ahead and start with the matchup that I think everybody is waiting. It is going to be Rueben Bain and that Miami defense going up against Trinidad Chambliss and the Ole Miss offense. Break down that matchup and how you see that part of the game playing out.
Well, I think it's going to be the decisive matchup of the game, the most important matchup of the game, because the thing about Chambliss is he is so good even when he's under pressure. Like you watch that Georgia game, like Georgia got guys in the backfield, but they couldn't bring him down. They couldn't bring Chambliss down. And then the other thing about Chambliss is that he doesn't turn the ball over. He only has 3 interceptions all year. And crazily, I was looking at Pro Football Focus. All 3 of those interceptions were from a clean pocket, not when under pressure, which is nuts. Like the fact that like how Chambliss is able to make things happen when he's under pressure, whether it's with his legs, whether it's by, moving out of the pocket and letting a guy get open, like that's the biggest thing. So I'm really eager to see, like, is Miami's defense that much better than like Georgia's and the other teams Ole Miss has faced? Can they get him on the ground? If they can get Chambliss on the ground, then I think it's a wrap. Obviously not once, but if they can do it consistently, get him on the ground or force him to make mistakes, they're going to win this game. Right. If Chambliss does what he did to Georgia, we got a ball game. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing. I'm sure Corey Heatherman, I'm sure Chambliss is probably the hardest quarterback he's designed, game plan for, because if you blitz, well, you leave things open and he can escape the pressure and get the ball to the open receiver. If you don't blitz, well, now he has not all day to throw, and never want to give any quarterback all day to throw. So I think the key is going to be, guys like Rueben Bain, Akeem Mesidor, Ahmad Moten, Justin Scott, getting into the backfield, putting pressure on Chambliss and not letting him escape and do crazy things.
Adam, one fun question. I asked Adam Rittenberg this yesterday on the show, but who's one player, minus the quarterback, because quarterback, it changes everything if you have to replace the quarterback, who's one player on each side of the ball for Miami that they just cannot afford to lose to injury in this game?
On the offense, I'll say Mark Fletcher.
Okay.
Fletcher has been incredible in the playoffs. He is a massive running back. He's 6'2", 230. He's got legs that are like thicker than my whole body, basically. And I'm a thick guy. Dude is unreal, and he's hitting his stride. He's getting the attention and the love he deserves, because obviously he went off against Texas A&M for 170 yards, had that big breakaway run that set up the game-winning touchdown, and then he had another great game against Ohio State. Not as gaudy stat-wise, 90 yards on 19 carries. He had a touchdown catch, but same kind of deal. Running up the middle. I was sitting next to a couple national guys, a couple of national ESPN writers, and they're watching him, and they're just like, he doesn't go down. Like, he never goes down on the first tackle. Like, he might not be rushing for, 12 yards a carry, and he might not have that breakaway speed, but he's not going down the first time you hit him. And I think one of the Ohio State linebackers, I can't remember if it was Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles, came into that game without a, missed tackle allowed all year. Boom. First quarter, meet Mark Fletcher. He's going to break a tackle. So that, Miami has depth at running back in Marty Brown and Gerard Pringle. But Fletcher, he is so important to that team, so important to what they want to do in that kind of ground and pound style offense. They really, really can't afford to lose him. On the defensive side of things, I'll go someone other than Bain and Mesidor, because we've talked about them. I'll say Keontae Scott. Well, actually, no. I won't say Keontae Scott because they did lose him for the end of the season, and they still played great. So they can afford to lose him. But he is an excellent player. So if I would say somebody they can't afford to lose, I would say let's go with Xavier Lucas, one of their cornerbacks, because Ole Miss has so many talented receivers, guys who can get open and create plays. Miami's already a little bit banged up in the secondary. OJ Frederick got banged up against Ohio State. He was just taken off the injury report on Tuesday, so he's going to play, but he is banged up. Damari Brown, who's been a very solid cornerback for them all year, he is listed as questionable this week, but he hasn't played since the regular season ended, so I don't think they're going to just throw him in, to a playoff game coming off a injury that's kept him out for a month. So they really need their cornerbacks to stay healthy and perform well. I'm very high on Xavier Lucas. He's done very well, so I'll go with him at cornerback as a guy they can't afford to lose.
All right. Let's talk about another interesting matchup. Carson Beck, who came from Georgia in the first round matchup against Texas A&M, he passed for 100 yards total. In the second matchup, he passed for 138 yards. Talk about Carson Beck and the Miami offense going up against Pete Golding's Ole Miss defense and how you think that matchup is going to be.
Yeah, I was cracking jokes after the Cotton Bowl. Like, Miami's going to win the national title and Carson Beck's going to throw for like 500 yards total, like combined. The thing for Miami is they haven't needed him to do much more. They haven't needed him to put the game on his arm and throw downfield a ton. They haven't needed that. And that was good because against A&M, they did take one or two downfield shots, and the wind just like destroyed that.
Yeah,
after that game, Carson Beck said there was one play where when he threw the ball, the receiver had a beat in his man. He throws the ball, releases it, and says, "That's a touchdown." And the wind just took it and carried it out of bounds. And basically from that point on, Miami said, "We're good, actually. We're just going to throw short passes and run the ball." And it worked. Against Ohio State, kind of the same deal. They didn't take a lot of downfield shots because they didn't really need to. They were making plays. But the thing is, and I looked this up when I was doing a story on Beck earlier this week, he didn't throw for a lot of yards, but he was deadly accurate like he has been for almost the entire season, completed 74% of his passes. And if you look at his passing chart, he had 11 passes on third or fourth down. He completed 8 of them, and 7 of them were firsts. And that's not even including, I think, one first down run he had, which wasn't one of the more impressive plays he's made all year, where he scrambles on 3rd and 11, and he's not that fast, but he scrambles, and he puts his shoulder into a dude and gets the first down. Like, that was an impressive run. So he's done exactly, what they need him to do. But I do think, Ole Miss's defense they're not bad, but they're not Ohio State, and they're not A&M.
right.
I think this could be the game where, do I expect Carson Beck to go off for 400 yards? No. But this is a game where maybe he throws for 150, maybe he throws for 200, and a couple passing touchdowns. This might be the game where Malachi Toney, who's been bottled up so well by A&M and Ohio State, maybe Malachi Toney finally comes alive. I think this could be the game where they play kind of more of a complementary style, more of a balanced style of offense. So far, they haven't needed it. But I do think if they can, and I don't think they're going to lean on Carson Beck in this game. I think they're going to keep doing what's been working and lean on the running game. But I do think if they can get a little bit more from the passing game so that Ole Miss can't put 7-8 guys in the box, then their running game will fully come alive and they'll click at their highest potential. I think that's definitely a possibility in this game.
So who moves on to Miami for the national championship between Miami and Ole Miss? Is it going to be a home game for the national championship back there at Hard Rock Stadium?
Wouldn't that be something? So I've been thinking about this game, obviously, since we knew the matchup. And the more I look at Ole Miss, I know they're a good team. They're obviously a very, very good team. Trinidad Chambliss is legit. He's fantastic. Kwan Lacey, the running back, is fantastic. but I just don't know if they have the guys across the field to fully match up with Miami. And ultimately, I think the talent differential will show Miami is too good in too many places. I think the Hurricanes win. I think it's close. I think maybe it's a 4-point game. I think I picked, like in my newspaper, I think I picked 27-23 Miami. But I'm going with that. Miami in a close one. I'm not 100% confident in that, but I think Ole Miss can definitely, if they do things right and play their style of game and make this a track meet, then Ole Miss has the advantage. But I like Miami in this one.
All right. And on the other side of the bracket, Indiana and Oregon, in your opinion, who would Miami match up better with, and which would be a better matchup for the Hurricanes, the Ducks or the Hoosiers of Indiana?
Well, I think the Ducks would be a better matchup for Miami, and oh boy, the narrative in that one would be so much fun with Cristobal facing his former team.
Yeah.
But I think Miami matches up better with Oregon, but I think Indiana wins that game. The reason why is because I look at what happened when Indiana played Oregon the first time, and they dominated Oregon in the trenches. I think they had like 6 sacks in that game. And Miami's defensive front, as good as it is, like if Indiana can do that, Miami can do that too. And I think that's what Cristobal and his staff would love to do, is just dominate in the trenches and put Dante Moore in the dirt. So I think that would be the best matchup for Miami. I don't think it's the one they're going to get. I think it would be Miami Indiana is the most. That's the matchup I expect in the national title game. I'm not crazy confident in it, but that's what I think is going to happen.
Adam, you got a score in mind?
Yeah, I'd say like 27-20. So actually, I'll go 2 different ways. If Miami's going to win, it's probably going to be a lower scoring game. Maybe, scores in the mid to low 20s or a little bit lower. If Ole Miss is going to win, it'll be something like 35-28 or something. A little bit higher scoring, but like I said, I think 27-23 feels right to me.
Okay. All right. So Adam, look, man, thank you for taking time to join us. Go and enjoy all of the festivities of the game this evening. Enjoy covering the Hurricanes and Ole Miss. Good luck to Miami. And if you guys do prevail and move on to the national championship game, we will catch up with you next week or maybe even the Monday of the national championship game to get your prediction on that game. Be safe and be well in Arizona.
For sure. Thank you guys for having me on again.
Eat Mexican food for me, brother.
All right. So, Heath, that is going to wrap up our preview of the Fiesta Bowl there with both Adam Lichtenstein, and then, of course, earlier on, we had David Johnson from Ole Miss 365. Really do want to thank both gentlemen for joining us. Heath, since the game starts tonight, I want to go over the matchups for tonight and tomorrow night. Heath, who do you have ultimately going on to play in the national championship game?
This can go either way, man. It really can. I think both games. I got a little bit more confidence in Indiana over Oregon, but I can see Oregon winning that game. But I got more confidence in Indiana right now. Ole Miss is playing out just insane right now, out of its mind. Trinidad Chambliss is doing things that I haven't seen done basically since like Joe Burrow. It just how he is commanding that offense and making things happen and click. I just wow. It's really, really impressive to see Trinidad Chambliss. And, Tom Luganville talked about how he's undersized and he's not going to be that big of an NFL prospect, but so is Drew Brees. He was undersized. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are undersized. And most undersized quarterbacks don't make it in the NFL, but there's a couple that do. Trinidad Chambliss won the national title at Ferris State. Like, he knows what it's like to go through a playoff. He knows what it's like to go through these types of games. This is not new to him. It's just a bigger crowd. There's just more people watching on television. But he's done this already, Stephen.
Right.
He's done this at a high level. You can't replace that. I am very big on experience. Trinidad Chambliss has the experience.
Yes.
Stephen, as always, I come down to the three things, and I'll let you answer it, and I'll answer it with you. The three questions, no matter what college football game you're talking about, it comes down to these three questions, and whoever gets 2 out of 3 wins 90% of the time. It's not bulletproof, but it's 90% of the time. Who has the better head coach?
Miami.
Okay. Who has the better quarterback?
Ole Miss.
And I'm with you on both those answers so far. And who's the home team? You don't have one.
Neutral.
Yeah. So it's a neutral site game. So this comes down to this. I think there's more distractions around Ole Miss, but I think Ole Miss has the better quarterback, and that means a ton. This game can go either way. I don't want to be boring and cop out on my answer, but it's the absolute truth. This game's going to come down to turnovers, man. It's strictly going to come down to turnovers, and I like Bain on the defensive line for Miami to create those turnovers. Now, we've seen Carson Beck lay some eggs, and he laid a major egg in Oxford last year when he played against Ole Miss. So I don't know if that's the snake to his mongoose or the mongoose to his snake, but Ole Miss being the mongoose and him being the snake. I don't know if that's the case or not, but Carson Beck didn't look good against Ole Miss. Whoever has the better quarterback play is going to put the team in a better position. But Rueben Bain, number 4 for Miami, the DN, I don't think Ole Miss has an answer for him. I don't think anybody in America has an answer for him. It's not against anything against Ole Miss. But Trinidad Chambliss, man, he pulls rabbits out of his hat, and he did it against Georgia when he was under pressure. I don't know, man. I do not know. I go back and forth on this game. Last night I was saying Ole Miss is going to win. Right now I think Miami's got the upper hand. But there's something special about this Ole Miss team, Stephen. There really is. There's something special about them. And it's coming down to quarterback play. My money's on Trinidad, not Carson. So ask me next half hour. I might change my mind. You know what? I'll say Ole Miss right now. You know what? I don't want to do that to my Ole Miss friends. They watch the show. I've picked against Ole Miss, and they keep winning. So to be fair to Ole Miss, because if I change my prediction and I pick for Ole Miss and they lose, like, you're the reason they lost. You pick against them, they keep winning. So you know what? I'll go with Miami. I'll say Miami does it. And Rueben Bain, number 4 for Miami, is the difference in the game. He makes a couple of more plays, and Miami wins by a score. So Rueben Bain and the Miami Hurricanes beat Ole Miss out in Tempe, Arizona in the Fiesta Bowl.
Heath, panic mode is about to set in up in Birmingham, Alabama. We talked about it yesterday in depth to start the show because the SEC could potentially be out for the 3rd straight year of the national championship game and the national champion themselves, because the past 2 have been Michigan first, and then Ohio State had to do it last year. We are down to Ole Miss for the SEC. Heath, defense trumps offense any day of the week, especially with the 2 defensive ends that Miami has. And if you look at this system that Miami and Mario Cristobal has brought in, it reminds me so much of the dominant teams that Nick Saban had at Alabama. We're going to take time off the clock. We are going to be a game manager quarterback, and we are going to beat you with defense, make you drive the length of the field, and wait on you to screw up. Guess what? Unfortunately, we have been on Ole Miss 365 all week. Hopefully, we don't get the call here after the show. But Heath, guess what? 3 years in a row, the SEC misses out on the national championship game. I'm going with Mario Cristobal and Miami knocking off this incredible run of Ole Miss there in Tempe, Arizona.
Fair enough. Stephen, when you were talking, I thought about this question, and then I was able to answer it really quick in my head, and I think you will too. If Indiana happens to run the table and they have 3 different champions from the same conference, 3 different teams from the same conference winning 3 straight national titles.
Yeah.
Who was the last conference to do that? And it won't take you long to figure it out.
SEC.
And can you name the 3?
Florida, Alabama, and Auburn.
They did that, but it wasn't the most recent. Joe Burrow and LSU, Nick Saban,
Alabama, Georgia,
and then Georgia. So yeah. LSU with Joe Burrow in 2019, Alabama 2020, Georgia 2021.
Okay.
So it's crazy to think about, but it's been done before. It's really done. But yeah, you're right on that. Florida, Alabama, Auburn.
Yeah.
Insane.
All right. And Heath, finally tomorrow night, Indiana, Oregon rematch in Atlanta. How stupid is that one? Making both Indiana and Oregon travel to Atlanta to play that game. I'm actually going with Indiana moving on. But like I said, that is stupid to make both of them, the Northern and the Northwest team, travel to the South to play that game.
Hey, Steven, when Alabama and Georgia played for the national title multiple times, one was played in New Orleans, right? Where was the other one played?
Indianapolis. Go figure.
Well, there you go. I mean, so this isn't that crazy to think about. But
Indianapolis is a lot easier to get to than Oregon going to Miami. I mean, Oregon going to Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Well, just think if Oregon wins, they got to go home, and then they got to turn around and fly all the way to Miami.
Yes.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah.
I'm not putting the cart before the horse, but I am. If Indiana wins and if Miami wins, everyone's talking about how dominant Indiana's been. But yet Miami's getting to play a home game.
Yeah.
So that'll be a storyline. If Miami makes it, period, that'll be the storyline. They're playing at home, blah, 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 blah. I don't know, man. This has just been a fun season. It really has. But, Steven, are we going to see it again? A double-digit seed win a national title?
Potentially, man.
I mean, this is fun. This is what Mike Leach always talked about, is having the upset. So that's why people watch. And here's Miami. A lot of people argued they shouldn't got in. Notre Dame was screaming that they should have never got in, and Miami has pretty much shut that down and shut them up. They also shut them up on the field as well to start the season. But to look at this, man, is just insane. The playoffs need to be increased. Tom Luganbill's right. Let's move the season back in August. Let's start in August, and let's have 1 bye week instead of 2. And I'm okay if they want to start at the beginning of August. I'm okay. Steven, I'm okay if they want to start in July after July 4th. Like, have the College World Series. Let's have July 4th, and then, let's start playing football after that. And let's just have 24 teams in the playoff. It'll be fun.
Too hot.
Be fun. I will be done before the new year. We'll play all the games on New Year's Day.
Too hot.
The last one. I don't think so, man. More football. Look, the NFL, they put almost 50% of the teams in the playoffs. We're not doing that in college football. We're not putting 130 teams in.
Right.
We're not putting half of that in. I don't know. I think it would be fun because it would be the upsets that we watch.
Yes.
And how great would it be if Notre Dame was sitting there thumping their chest and blah, 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 and they just get smoked first round by Boise State? I mean, that would be fun. We loved it when Boise State beat Oklahoma. We love the upsets.
Heath, that is going to do it for this edition of the Stingray Show, and this is the final show of this week because on Friday there is a threat of severe weather in your area in Oxford and a good portion of Mississippi. I will be preparing to do severe weather coverage, so I'm going to save my voice on Friday. So we will not have a show tomorrow in order for me to get ready to cover severe weather. Unfortunately, this is the time of the year that we do have severe weather events peaking up, and we will have one potentially tomorrow. So stay weather aware up there in Hernando and Oxford. And Heath, we will catch you on the Monday morning edition of the Stingray Show when we will recap these two semifinal playoff games and peek ahead to the national championship a week from Monday.
Hey, Stephen, this was all news to me. What storms are coming, man? I'm glad you told me.
There's a storm system that's supposed to come in Thursday night, Friday, and Friday night. And we're supposed to have the potential for your area and a good portion of Mississippi for damaging straight line winds, tornadoes, and extremely heavy rainfall, as we could see anywhere between 3 to 4 inches of rain over the next 2 days.
We just finished putting on the roof and replacing the windows that the tornado knocked out. What was that, May?
Mm-hmm.
At our house. We just did that like right after Thanksgiving, early December.
Right.
Late November, early December. We just got that replaced. Man, don't tell me that.
Yep. So you got it's just part of life, dude. Just part of life. So I will be preparing for that tomorrow. And if your power does go out and your cable goes out as well, I will be live doing tornado coverage if it warrants on my YouTube channel as well as Facebook and Twitter. So make sure that you find me there. The Stingray Network on YouTube, as well as meteorologist Stephen Stingray Ray over on Facebook, and then at Stephen Ray 30 on Twitter.
Wow. What's the 30 for?
That's I was 30 years old when I had to recreate a new Twitter account.
Fair enough. All right.
Yep. All right. So Heath, have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.
Should have went with Stingray 2.0.
Yeah, should have. For over 100 years, the Bank of Moundville has been a name clients can trust. The Bank of Moundville is more than just a bank. They're your neighbors, your friends, and your community partners. Their unique approach to financial education has always centered around families. They believe that financially strong homes today lay the foundation for a brighter futures for tomorrow's generation. You can call them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 371-2227 to schedule an appointment to build your financial security. The Bank of Moundville is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. We all enjoy the changing of the seasons. Fall is a special time to be thankful for our families and many blessings. It is also a great time, though, to review your insurance coverages. Alpha Insurance and hometown agent Jeff Nee can help you personalize your insurance needs. The more you protect, the more you save. With helpful customer service teams right here to serve you in Alabama and over in Mississippi, you can count on Alpha to provide the insurance plan that provides the protection that you need. For all your auto, home, life, and business insurance needs, call Alpha agent Jeff Nee or drop by his office at 202 McFarland Boulevard East, Suite 101 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And remember, with Jeff Nee, the more you protect, the more you save. So, guys, we want to apologize for the lengthy show today. This will not be a norm, but hopefully you guys did enjoy the preview of the Fiesta Bowl. And before I go, I do want to mention this tonight on the SEC Network. If you would like to watch the game with the call of David Kellum, you can watch that at 6:30 on the SEC Network. David Kellum, the voice of the Ole Miss Rebels, will be on the SEC Network calling the game on radio, and you can watch it live as well. We will see you on Monday. Good luck to Hottie Toddy. God bless. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday evening, and the Stingray Show is out.